Joining me now is our political panel, Republican strategist Denise Gitsham and NewsNation contributor Kurt Bardella. Great to see both of you. So we heard President Trump just moments ago. He touted the peace in the Middle East, his plan for Hamas to demilitarize. Can we take a quick listen, guys, and I'll talk to you on the other side?
This meeting today is proof with determined leadership nothing is impossible. When I took office, the war in Gaza was raging with thousands of people being killed and no end in sight. The war in Gaza is over. It's over. There are little flames. Hamas has been, I think they're going to give up their weapons, which is what they promised. If they don't, it'll be, they'll be harshly met, very harshly met. They don't want that.
Kurt, let me start with you. The president brought up billions of dollars of pledges to rebuild Gaza, saying the U.S. is giving $10 billion, other nations are pledging $7 billion. But how can the administration ensure they deliver on their primary goal, which, again, is rebuilding Gaza?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll believe it when I see the check clear and the dollar amounts clear. I think it's interesting that we have, on one hand, this conversation about the board of peace, and the very next sentence after that is, we might be going to war with Iran here coming up. So there's a little bit of a juxtaposition going on here. I'm one of those people who just looks at this and just sees it as more of a Trump vanity project, creating his own version of the UN that everyone has to pay to play to get in, commit billions of dollars, where that money goes, how that's being administered, what oversight's in place to ensure that it isn't just a massive grift, which everything involving Donald Trump is a massive grift as we've seen over and over again. So I'm super skeptical that this will lead to anything other than Trump lining his pockets with foreign money.
I do want to pivot a bit, Denise, to affordability, because there's so much to talk about today. We heard from the president after this meeting, this Board of Peace meeting, he's heading to Rome, Georgia. And this, of course, the timing, midterms are creeping up. He is expected to talk about the economy and affordability. Will that be the main message for the midterms this year in a few months?
Well, if it isn't, then Republicans are in deep trouble, because people tend to take out on the party in power when things that take it out on the people who are in charge. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Psychologically, that they would go after the people that they think are responsible for bringing about this economy and whether the country's in the right direction or going on the wrong track. And at this point in time, I think the president and Republicans are in deep trouble if things don't change quickly. I think the fact that he's going to Rome, Georgia, which was a Trump plus 37 district, I mean, this is literally the reddest district in Georgia, goes to prove that he knows he can't take anything for granted, which is why he's embarking on this affordability tour. And I will just say that this is what I looked over the polling, sort of the tracking ever since really the end of the last Trump administration. And it feels as though Americans have never really felt like the economy was good. Not more than 40% of people have ever said that the economy was good ever since COVID. I mean, there might have been a little blip at 43%, but mostly it was below 40%. And right now, only 31%, I think maybe less, a little less, of people think that the economy is doing okay. And so it might be a general malaise that Trump keeps bringing up, like, why don't people see all the positive motion in terms of what's happening in the economy? Because the trend line is going in the right direction. The question is whether or not he and Republicans have enough time to ensure that things actually turn around in a way that voters feel it.
Kurt, when it comes to the messaging of affordability, how can Democrats use this to their favor with so many Americans struggling right now, and one of their biggest concerns, of course, being the economy?
Yeah, I mean, it's that tried-old message of, asking voters, do you feel better today about the economy, about your own personal financial situation than you did a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago? The blame Democrats, blame Biden routine just isn't going to land when you have control of the White House, the House, and the Senate. People expect results. Donald Trump campaigned under the premise that on day one, he would do all these great things to turn the economy around and to reverse the terrible Democrat policies. What he instead did was institute tariffs that boomeranged and backfired and turned into a Trump tax on American consumers and working families. So they're feeling it every day in the everyday items that they shop for. Meanwhile, Trump's out there doing vanity things like, I'm going to reconstruct the White House. I'm going to build out the new West Wing. I'm going to rename the Trump Kennedy Center and renovate it. I'm going to give $10 billion to this Board of Peace thing. I think people right now who are struggling in this country think there are better ways to spend $10 billion than on these vanity projects designed to prop up Donald Trump and make him feel good about himself.
Like I mentioned, there's so much to talk about. I want to ask you folks about AOC. I'm sure you heard about her comments about Taiwan in Munich. For our viewers who may not remember, let's play that.
To all of you, and Congressman, I'll start with you, would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
You know, I think that this is such a, you know, I think that this is this is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Now, many people have been critical of her answer. She hesitated, she stumbled a bit. Well, just moments ago, Vice President JD Vance made a bit of fun of AOC's comments. He did it at the Board of Peace meeting. Here's what he said.
I knew exactly what I wanted to say, but then after the president said that I was so smart and that I didn't want to repeat our congresswoman who froze for 20 seconds over in Munich, now I'm tempted, sir, just to freeze for 20 seconds and just stare at the cameras, and maybe they'll say nice things about me like they do about Congresswoman Cortez.
I want to hear from both of you about these comments. Kurt, I will start with you. I see you sighing.
Okay, first of all, AOC's answer reads not ready for prime time, not ready to be on the world stage, didn't do your due diligence and prepare for, what I think is a pretty obvious question about one of the major, global conflict points that we're going to be facing over the next decade. On the other hand, I have this rule in politics, and I know Denise agrees with this. I always tell candidates, never punch down. Never punch beneath you. You're the vice president of the United States. You're following the president of the United States. You're at this big, peace summit thing that you've created. Why are you talking about a congresswoman from New York who's not on any ballot right now, who's not the president of the United States, who has nothing to do with the Board of Peace? And you take a cheap shot at her, which, by the way, no one in the room laughed. Zero laughter, crickets, read the room, man. Like it's just beneath you. And all you're doing is elevating her to your stature as the sitting vice president. It's not a good look for JD. And again, AOC, she blew it in Munich. No question about it. Terrible answer, but JD, that doesn't make it any better for her either.
Yeah, Denise, do you think the vice president is punching down here?
Of course he is. Look, they never miss an opportunity to really clap back at anyone who comes after them. And does it elevate them? Not really, but it was an easy shot. She left herself wide open. I mean, JD would have had to throw in a lot of word salad in order to even come close to what she did. And let's just say I'm very happy that AOC is nowhere near the role of commander-in-chief, because with such a lack of moral clarity, and I really think that's what JD Vance is doing here. He's juxtaposing the moral clarity that this administration has in regards to what would happen in Taiwan and China and which side they would fall on versus AOC and really her convoluted response, because as we know, she doesn't have real ideological purity when it comes to the issue of communism, socialism, and sort of all the people who back her on the socialist progressive sort of side of the Democratic Party. So it would be hard for her to come down and say, we're definitely standing on the side of Taiwan and freedom, when in fact, that's really not where she and her followers sit. And the reason they did this also, Henna, is because she is gaining steam. The progressive arm, which she is most associated with at the Democratic Party, is gaining steam and prominence. Look at all these primaries that have happened on the left. Progressives are winning them. And so they're really trying to tackle what they see as the spokesperson of that wing of the party. It's certainly not Gavin Newsom. So, AOC is the closest target.
You know what voters love, Hannah? They love watching douchebag white guys clap down at women. They really love that.
All right, we're going to end it there. I had to ask you about the AOC thing because JD Vance just made those comments a little while ago. Thanks for coming on, guys. NewsNation political contributors Denise Gitsham, Kurt Bardella. Always appreciate you two. Thank you.
Well, I'm starting my day with y'all.